Okay, we're time is here. Hi everyone. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you are based in, and welcome to not another virtual hackathon, first ever live workshops. We for the whole of this week and the remaining of 5.5 weeks of the hackathon, we have lots of program lined up for you. Be it live or pre-recorded session, these are all helpful for you in your journey to building a project submission for the hackathon in itself. Before I introduce today's topic, workshop topic, and the speaker for today as well, I would just like to remind everyone that for this whole of hackathon, we have included some of surprises that each of the participants could actually stand and walk away for this live workshop sessions and the upcoming ones as well. All you need to do is just to simply attend it live and stay till the end in order for some of the lucky people to actually walk away with a surprise in the coming weeks as well. Similar surprises would be also introduced in the Builder's Guide. So keep a lookout at our Discord channel where we will make various announcements about the small little surprises that we're going to introduce into this hackathon to give you a little bit of in-person touch points as we kind of participate this virtually as well. Well, today, for to the first ever live workshop in itself, the workshop will be about using snaps to provide transaction insights in MetaMask, and we have Ziad, who will be sharing the content for the day as well. So join me, sorry, to welcome Ziad on the stage. Ziad, please. Here.
Hi.
Yeah, cool.
Hello. Am I on stage now?
Yep,
Yeah.
you are.
Amazing. Hi. Hello, everyone. Thank you for joining us. How many people? Oh, it looks as there's 24 people. That's so great. All right. Well, thanks everyone for being here. I'm really happy to be doing this first session for Not Another Virtual Hackathon. And today we're going to talk about MetaMask snaps. So let's get started. I'm going to share my screen and we're gonna slowly get into this. Just give me a moment here. This is the first time I'm using this. It's so cool. All right. So before we get started, please allow me to introduce myself. My name is Ziad, and I am the developer advocate for MetaMask Snaps. You can find me on Twitter. You can find me on Telegram at ZiadMTL. And this is my GitHub, Ziad Sab, where you can find the content of the workshop that we're going to be doing today on transaction insights, and the content of another workshop that we're going to be doing on Thursday on adding new protocols to MetaMask. It's even more exciting. So very briefly, if you're here, you probably already know this, but very briefly, what's MetaMask? Well, MetaMask is an extension that allows you to interface with the blockchain. It is the most trusted self-custodial wallet. It has stood the test of time, and we have more than 30 million users. That actually hooks into Snaps. But first of all, what is Snaps? Snaps allows anyone, that means you, the developer, to extend the functionality of MetaMask in a secure way and in a decentralized way. And Snaps is really important. It's the future of MetaMask and the future of Web3, because we can't possibly be adding all the protocols in the world knowing that there's new protocols that are coming in every day. So for you, what does that mean? It means that with MetaMask, you have access to some features to some special features that you need to ask permission for that are going to give you superpowers inside the user's wallet. One of the most important ones is to derive private keys for the user for any other chain. So today, you can manage your Bitcoins inside MetaMask. There are a lot of other features, some of them that we're going to be seeing today, such as hooking into the transaction window and giving insights to the user. And before you get too excited, although I do want you to get excited, I want you to know that these features are, as of today, available in the developer preview of MetaMask. That is called MetaMask Flask. So you can install it as an extension. You can get it from the same extension store. and you can install it. And if you want to play with it, you are going to have to disable your regular MetaMask extension. They can't both live in your browser and be active at the same time. And in MetaMask Flask, you have a lot of features, including snaps and a lot of experimental features. And one little thing I need to mention here, because all of this security is super important. We're going through audits right now and everything. Please, 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 if you start using MetaMask Flask, don't use the same secret recovery phrase that you're using for your actual MetaMask, where you hold some funds or some NFTs or things like that. This is really meant to be a development version. So create a new secret recovery phrase that you're only going to use on testnet accounts, and that you're going to be able to explore snaps, just like we'll be doing today in our workshop. So to have a good time through this workshop, you want to have some basic understanding of JavaScript. The code is written in TypeScript, but JavaScript and React are good prerequisites to have if you want to have a good time in this workshop. You want to have Flask installed, as I said. You want to have you want to have Node.js installed, because that will give you access to npm and Yarn. We use Yarn, but you can still use npm for some of the tasks. And most importantly, you need a use case for snaps. I think sometimes for me, I know as a developer, I get very excited about a new technology, and it's like, oh, I absolutely want to use it. But I think it's important to understand what Snaps provides, and that whatever you're trying to do is actually enabled by Snaps. And we're going to look into some use cases throughout this hackathon. We have other workshops coming up. And at the end of this workshop today, I'm going to link you to what other people are working on with Snaps and so on. All right. So that being said, let's get started. I'm going to close this presentation, and I'm going to show you where you can find the workshop. One good news that I have for you, because we don't have a lot of time, it's already 10:10 my time. I created the workshop in a way where you don't necessarily need to follow along with me and start, frenetically coding on your own VS Code and whatnot. I think it's going to be very difficult, especially because we're not live at a conference. You're going to have to look at my screen share, switch to your VS Code, and so on. And so I created the workshop in a way where you can really follow it step by step. Every instruction of the workshop is there in the README file that accompanies the workshop. And so what we're going to do is we're going to basically go through these instructions in the workshop, and you can feel free to just listen and ask questions if you need to, and just and enjoy the progress of the workshop, see how things are going. Workshops never go 100% correctly, so at some point I'm going to probably hear it, but there's a guy who's selling fruits outside my house now, and I can hear him just spelling out the names of the fruit that he's selling. I hope it's not too bad. So yeah, please feel free to just listen in, and everything that you need to be able to reproduce what we're doing today in the workshop is going to be available in this GitHub's README file. So again, it's the first pinned workshop here, called MetaMask Snaps Transactions Insights Workshop. And also want to take advantage of being here to let you know that on Thursday, so 2 days from now, I'm going to be doing another workshop where we're going to look at how to add and manage Dogecoin assets inside MetaMask with Snaps, using some other features of Snaps. All right, so that's great. So let's get started. First, I think, to me, one thing that's very important when I get into a new project or a new endeavor is I want to know a little bit where I'm heading. Don't get me wrong, I love adventure and I love the unknown, but I want to know at least a little bit, have a little plan of where I'm going. So before we get started diving into code and our terminal and so on, let's look at this little video that will show us what we are building together. I'm going to make it full screen. And in this video, we are going to see me doing a transaction inside MetaMask. And there's going to be a new addition in the MetaMask UI, a new tab inside the transaction window that is going to be provided by the snap that we are creating for this workshop. So let's play it. It's only 30 seconds. So here I am sending some ETH between one of my accounts and another. And as I press the next button, you will see that there is a new tab that appears in the transaction window. And that tab is telling me that what is the percent of the gas fees? What is the percent of the gas fees as a percent of my total transaction that I'm sending? And you can go all out here. This confirmation window that you see here with this additional tab, you are provided with all the data of the new transaction that is about to happen, and you are allowed to call external APIs. You're allowed to do any computation you want. You're allowed to do any simulation that you want. And then you're using the Snaps feature called Custom UI. You can then return this simple user interface where you can give the user some extra information about the transaction that they are about to do. For example, hey, we've noticed that this transaction based on our data comes from, or you're going to be sending funds to an address that's known to be like an exploit or that's known to be a hack or something like that. And so you can really you can implement your own APIs, your own protocols, and you can provide a lot of super useful information to the users of your Snap. All right, so let's get started. First thing we need to do is we need to create a new Snap project. And I don't know about you guys, but one of the things when I start coding is I don't like to start coding with an empty, just like a blank empty page. I feel like I'm not like that I'm lost, but I feel like it's nice to have a little bit of guidance in the beginning. And we do provide this guidance to you in the form of a template. So there is a mono repo that's available on GitHub, but you don't need to clone it or anything. All you need to do is from your terminal, you can just run yarn create. It's like if you were doing like a create React app or something like that. So you do yarn create at MetaMask/snap, and then the name of your snap. So I'm going to do that right now. And what's going to happen when I do that is basically the mono repo of MetaMask snaps will be not of MetaMask snaps of our source code, but the mono repo of the template that you can use will be created. And then there's the dependencies are going to be installed for you, and then we're going to be able to start coding right away. So this is going to take a minute to install. So we're going to let it do its thing. And while it's installing, I can show you the template mono repo. So this is what we're cloning and installing right now. In the future, this creation command that we're running here will have extra options. So that's why we recommend that you use it instead of using the instead of just cloning the repository. And what you're going to get is you're going to get this mono repo that's set up as a Yarn Workspaces project, and that contains two packages. One of the packages is going to be the snap, which contains all the code that is running in the secure MetaMask extension in the sandbox of MetaMask. So all the code of your snap is going to be in there. That includes all the permissions that your snap needs to request, and so on and so on. Let's check in on our install. It's still going. And then you're also going to get a second package, which is a site package. Now, all in all, this whole template is completely optional. You can just start from scratch. You can develop your snap, but I think it's a good way to get started, especially if you're trying to get familiar with snaps. And so, what does the site do? Well, we're gonna run it in a minute. We're gonna look at it once we get to run the development server. But basically, what the site does is it's a DApp that allows you to interact with the snap. What do I mean by that? Well, as of today, the user interface of snaps inside the MetaMask window, so inside this MetaMask window here, is quite minimal. You can, as we saw earlier, you can put transaction insights inside of the transaction window. There are a few other UI features, like you can bring pop-ups or things like that. But apart from that, if you need to interact with a snap as of today, the only way to do it is by calling the snaps functions through a dApp, through an actual website, and let the snap do all the security stuff, like if you're deriving private keys or whatnot, and everything else has to happen in the dApp. So that's why we give you a dApp that has some basic functionality. It checks if the user has MetaMask Flask installed. If not, there's a different UI that happens. The site package also has the basic code that you need to run in order to install the snap. So the way to install a snap today, we don't currently have like inside of the MetaMask UI, there is no like marketplace or anything right now. So the way to install a snap is you need to run a function. You need to call a function on the Ethereum global from your dApp. You pass it the ID of the snap, and then that will install your snap. And our snap today is a transaction insight snap, so we're not going to spend so much time in the dApp because our snap will activate when we make a transaction from the MetaMask UI. That being said, if you were building, let's say, a Bitcoin snap as of today, then if you want to show the accounts of the user, like their Bitcoin accounts or their balances, or if you want to allow them to make a Bitcoin transaction, as of today, those things are not happening in the MetaMask UI. You're going to have to create a dApp that will call out to the snap to do this, to do the secure bits, and then show the results inside of the dApp. That being said, my wonderful colleagues are currently working on a super new and exciting API called the Keyring API. We plan to have it in our documentation with some tutorials by next week, hopefully, for just in time for ETHCC. So that will bring about some very exciting things where you'll be able to integrate much more deeply inside of the MetaMask UI, and even like show your you're going to be able to show, like, for example, Bitcoin accounts alongside the Ethereum accounts right there. So that's going to be super exciting, and it's still in the works. It's still a little bit rough, but this is where we are. So snap package, all the security code of your snap, all the things that are running in the sandbox. Site package, a simple dApp that allows you to install the snap and to interact with the snap. All right. Now that we know a little bit more what we've just installed, it looks like we are just about ready to go. So the snap project was successfully initiated, and I created it in this project called Transaction Insights Snaps Workshop. So I'm going to go ahead and open it right now. And this is the project. This is basically a clone of the template that we were just looking at together. One thing that one of the tasks that we have outstanding is that we're going to give you an initial commit, just like let's say create React app or other things, because as it is right now, you just got this, you just cloned this template, and if you start making some changes right here, then you're not going to necessarily know which ones are your changes and which ones are which is the code of the initial template. And so I'm just going to start by doing this manually, which I would hope that in a week or two you will not have to do that, but I'm going to do an initial commit. And oh yeah, no, I can't do that. Here we go. All right, thank you, gods of the workshops. That was not too hard. And now that we have our initial commit, it's going to be a lot more comfortable for me to start playing with the code, knowing that I can always go back and see my changes and so on and so on. All right, so the first thing that I'd like to do is, first off, the yarn install command was already executed. We can see that our node modules are there. And the first thing that I'd like to do is to show you what we get you started with. And that's super simple. All I have to do is from my terminal, I'm going to run one single command that is yarn start. This command is going to fork out to the two packages, the site and snap package, and it's going to run yarn start inside of these two packages. And so this is going to start two development servers. So why two development servers? Well, the first one is a development server for the site package that we give you. So we give you a site package that's based on Gatsby, which is a static site generator. But while you're developing, it's really nice to have access to a development server that's always re-rendering your React code as you make changes and so on. And that is available on localhost 8000. So what's the second development server? Well, it's a development server that is constantly bundling the snap code that you're writing every time you make a change to it, so that you can easily reload the snap code and try your new changes. So snaps in production, once you launch your snap to the public, your snap is going to launch as an npm package. So it's going to be available on npm, and then you're going to request for it to be installed using its npm ID and a version range. And while in development, well, you can ask to install a snap using a localhost URL. And that will just point to a bundle.js file, which is, like I said, constantly being bundled by our CLI. So let's check it out. Let's go to localhost 8000 in my browser, and you get this template snap. As welcome to template snap, and the only action that we can do right now is to install the snap. Right? So when we install the snap, we're going to get the bundled version of the code that is in the snap package here. And currently there's only one file here. It's an index.ts file that exports a method. We're going to take a little bit. We're going to take a deeper look at that a little bit later. So for now, when I click this connect button, what's going to happen is I'm going to get a connection request. And it's going to say, it's a little bit confusing. It's going to say that localhost, it's talking about the website here, localhost 8000, wants to connect to localhost 8080 and only continue if you trust this website. So localhost 8080 is the ID of the snap that we are installing. That's because we're currently in development mode. When you're going to install your snap in production, this is going to say something like at my company / my snap or something like that. That will be the ID of your snap. And then when I click connect, when I accept that this website connects to this snap, then I'm going to get another window, and that's going to show me all the permissions that the snap is requesting. So the snap is requesting to allow websites to communicate directly with it. Right? This tells us that snaps are able to expose an API. And then a DApp is able to, with the correct permissions, call that API of the snap and request things like sign a Bitcoin transaction or something like that. And then this snap is also requesting another permission to display dialog windows in MetaMask. So this is one of the other few UI features that we currently have in MetaMask snaps, which is the ability for you to display dialog windows. Now, you might be asking yourself, why do I need to display dialog windows if I can just do it in my DApp or something like that? So here's a good example. Let's imagine that you're creating a Bitcoin snap and you want to allow the user to see their private key for one of their Bitcoin accounts, right? Now, the last thing you'd want to do is, you worked so hard to make all this stuff securely inside of the MetaMask sandbox, and then they request their private key, and then you expose an API that's just going to send that to the DApp, and then now the private key is in the DApp, and it's exposed to so much more security risks, and so on and so on. So this dialog windows that we give you are still running inside of the secure enclave, inside of the secure extension of MetaMask. And so you could use a dialog window to display to let the user see and copy paste their private key without it ever going to the DApp. So it's a really useful feature. And it also mimics the dialogues of MetaMask itself, which means that it increases the user experience. Before clicking install, I just want to mention something else since we're talking about permissions right now, which is that everything that you do in Snaps requires a permission. First off, Snaps does not even run in a regular JavaScript environment. Snaps runs in something called secure ECMAScript, which is a hardened version of JavaScript, where there are a lot of things that you can't do. For example, you can't modify the globals. You can't add something to promise. You can't add something to the array global or things like that. This is all things that you cannot do. And that comes with some difficulties. For example, if your Snap is using some libraries and one of those libraries is modifying the promise object, then you may not be able to use that library, or you may need to expend some extra effort to be able to use that library inside Snaps, because if that library is running in the context of Snaps, you will get a big error saying, hey, you're trying to modify the promise global and you're not allowed to do that. Even something as basic as making a network request, right? Like using the fetch function, right? You can write fetch in your Snaps code, but if your Snap never requested the permission to access the network, then the fetch will fail. And we're going to see later how to request permissions, how to add permissions using the Snap manifest. All right, let's keep going. So what we're going to do now is we're going to install the Snap. And this, by the way, this is not the Snap that we're creating for the workshop. This is the Snap, the basic Snap that you get as part of downloading this template and creating a new project with it. So the installation is complete. And one thing that we can look at now is in the MetaMask window, if we look at our settings, you're going to see that in MetaMask Flask, there is a new entry called Snaps. And that allows you to see all the Snaps that you have already installed. This is the one that we just installed here. It's going to allow you to see whether the Snap is enabled or not, the version of the Snap, all the permissions that it has, and all the sites that are connected to the Snap. So a Snap gets installed only once, but multiple sites could ask to be connected to the Snap. You're going to see all of that here. You can disconnect, you can remove the Snap, and you can manage all that in the Snaps entry of your MetaMask settings. So what does this basic Snap do? Well, it doesn't do much, but it gives you a structure at least. What this Snap does is it exposes an RPC API that can be called by the DApp, right? So as soon as we look at the demo of this, we're basically going to rip all that code, because our Snap that we're creating today is not exposing an RPC API to dApps. It's creating transaction insights that are going to run whenever the user is making a transaction. So all of those are happening inside the Snap code, but using different functionalities, different exports. So let's just see what this does. When I click send message here, the DApp is calling out to the Ethereum global object that you're probably familiar with if you've built any DApp. And it's calling a special function called invoke snap with the ID of the Snap and the name of the method that it wants to call. And then this just shows a sample dialog coming from our custom UI. So this pop-up appeared as a result of some code that was run in the Snap. And that code ran in the Snap as a result of the DApp calling that Snap's API through the invoke snap method. So I can click approve or reject. It's not going to change anything right now. And let's take a brief look at how this happens in the Snap code. And then we're going to start working with the time that we have left on our transaction inside Snap. So the Snaps code, as we saw, is in the Snap package under the source directory, under the index.ts file. Now, please feel free to modularize your code as much as possible. This is very small, very short here, so it's fine to have it all in one file. The important bit is that whatever functionality your Snap is going to be building, those functionalities happen as exports in the index.ts file of your Snap package. So this template Snap that we give you exposes an RPC API. And the way that it does that is that it exports a function called onRPCRequest. And that function receives a request object, which contains a method and optionally some parameters. And then it can run whatever code it wants as long as it has the permissions for it. And in this case, what is the snap doing? Well, it's calling out to the snap global, which is another global object that is available only for the snaps code. And it's popping up a confirmation dialog. Simple as that. And to be able to accept these RPC requests, we already saw that the snap had to request permission for that. And how does a snap request permissions? Well, it has to add those permissions into the manifest file. So this is another one of the very important files that is bundled along with your snap, that is called snap.manifest.json, and it's not in the source directory, it's at the root of the snap directory package. So if we open this manifest, we're going to see that there's a lot of stuff here. There's a description, there's a name, and all of those things, there's an icon, all of those things affect the UI when you're installing the snap. And there is a SHA-SUM that's very important because we need to know which version of the snap, which version of the code is currently being installed. And this is automatically updated whenever you make any changes to the code. It's automatically being updated by this bundler that is running in the background when we ran yarn start here. And then we have the permissions. So at the root of the manifest, we have an entry called initial permissions, and we can see here that we are requesting an endowment, which is a type of permission. It's called the RPC endowment. Similarly, there's the network access endowment, and so on and so on. And each permission can or cannot have some options associated to it. So the RPC permission allows the snap to be able to expose an RPC API. And the snap can decide to expose that RPC API to just dApps or also to snaps or either of them. And now that we've seen a little bit what we're getting in our initial package, we're going to start following through with the workshop here, and we're going to start customizing the snap, right? So we're going to go through this a little bit quickly because, like I said, every step is super well outlined here, right? So obviously you're going to want to edit your package.json files to have your package names be the ones that you want and not the ones that are currently provided. Like here, the package is just called snap, and so on and so on. And most importantly is that the proposed name here, which will appear as the name wherever the UI wants to display that your snap is trying to do something. In our case, this proposed name here is going to appear in the new tab of the transaction insights window. And so we can put something like, for example, %snap, since the snap is showing you what percentage of your transaction is being spent in fees. And you can feel free to customize everything here, the icon, anything that you want. And we're going to leave it at that for now. There is an additional setup that you can do for Visual Studio Code, which is to create a settings.json file, because we do provide you with some great ESLint starter. And what I really like is that when I have an ESLint in my code, an ESLint setup, I like that the changes are saved automatically whenever I make a mistake or something that's not in line with the format. And so you can just copy this VS Code. If you already have some settings, you can just add them to that. So in the settings.json here, we can see that there's already like a schema here. So I'm simply going to, rather than copying everything, I'm going to copy this bit here. And the setting is deprecated. So this is the gods of the workshops, but we just have to go with that. And then now that I've done that, if ever I were to I don't know, like forget a comma here, for example, that's not a good idea. But let's say if I were to forget a comma here at the end, you see that it's being outlined as an ESLint error. And then if I just save my file, then everything just happens automatically. And I prefer that. So it's completely optional. All right. So the next step that we're going to do is we are going to set up the snap for transaction insights. So we're going to clear up all the code we're going to clear up the permissions in the manifest. and we are going to clear up the code of the snap itself because we're going to be adding our own code. So let's delete all of that, and then let's go in the manifest and remove all the permissions. And let's save that. And then let's continue by adding the code of the transaction insights. So I'm going to first copy paste it, and then we're going to look at it. So this is the code. What does this code do? Well, it exports another function. You'll notice that this new code here is not exporting a function called onRPCRequest. It's exporting a function called onTransaction instead. And this is the function that you need to export from your snap if you want to receive transactions from the user and be able to provide transaction insights. So this console log here is going to allow us to see what the transaction object that we receive is all about. And we're going to see where that console log will appear. And then what we're doing to provide transaction insights to the user is we are returning an object that has a custom UI in it. So a custom UI is what we saw earlier that has like a dialog box, has some titles, some headings, and so on and so on. And it's all very well documented in our documentation on docs.metamask.io/snaps. And for now, it's very basic. This is just so that we can just start getting familiar with all that. And it's just the most basic code that we can have. And it's already going to allow us to see quite a bunch of useful things. So I'm going to save that. And the second thing that we need to do if we want that on-transaction window to be active, to actually do anything, is we need to request permission to see the transactions of the user. We need to request permission to provide these transaction insights. And so we're going to do this by adding the endowment transaction insights permission. Right here, we're going to save this. And as I'm doing this, I'm going to go back to my terminal, and you'll notice that every step of the way, everything is being bundled automatically by our beautiful CLI command line tool. And so now that the snap has been rebundled with the latest changes, that means that I'm going to be able to reinstall the snap, and then we're going to be able to interact with our new snap. So just before I do that, I just realized something is that I'm currently using a version of the extension that just manage my extensions. I'm currently using an even more preview build of Flask because I'm testing that keyring stuff that I just told you about. Super excited about that. But I'm going to switch back to the Flask that you guys would download from the App Store, simply because I have funds in there. It's going to make it a lot easier to make a transaction. And I'm going to install the snap. So I'm going to click reconnect here. That's okay. Figure out what's happening. No problem. Let's try one more time. Oh, thank you. Oh, wait, that's not what I was expecting. Why does it want to connect to those points now? That makes no sense. Oh, I think I know what might be happening. All right, so please bear with me while I fight with the gods of the workshops. All right, let's see. I'm running my development servers. Everything had worked correctly up until now. The Snap bundler is bundling on localhost 8080. This is the transaction inside Snap. All right. And this is my MetaMask. Okay, that's a little bit unexpected. I was really not expecting that. All right. Still fighting with the gods of the workshop here. Let's see, what could I do? I think there might be, it's very possible that I have like another bundler running somewhere or something like that. Because I was developing another snap. So it's possible that I have like two things trying to run on localhost 8080 at the same time. So let's try to figure that out. I don't see anything here. That's very interesting. Okay. What else can I do? Maybe if I completely restart my Docker container, then everything will just start working magically. So please bear with me while I'm doing that. Obviously now nothing wants to work, so okay, that's a little bit sad. Let's keep thinking. What could I do? It's a little bit of a bind here. I don't know why my Docker doesn't even want to start. Okay. Just trying. Oh, now obviously it's not working. But wait, if it's not working, then that means that my bundler, there's no other bundler that's running. So what's running on 8080? There's nothing running on 8080. So if I restart my development servers, why isn't it trying to install a Dogecoin snap? That's really weird. Let's keep going and let's just hope that this will work again. So now this is the index of snap, and everything looks like it should be working here. And if I go here and I connect, what's happening? Still trying to install the Dogecoin snap. Okay, let me see if site package. I think I might know what's going on actually. No, actually, I don't know what's going on. I don't know why it's trying to install this snap instead of the snap that we're working with. I have no idea. It's a little bit frustrating. I'd really love to show you the rest of the workshop. So I'm really trying to understand what's happening here, but I'm at a little bit of a loss. Clearly, the bundler that is running on localhost 8080 is exporting the correct version of the snap. We can see that my snap is being bundled here. So I'm not sure why the wrong snap is being installed. Yeah, I really don't know what's going on. Let's keep looking. I don't know if it has to do with this Flask version, but I don't think it does. I've used it and I've tested this before. What happens if I do this? Yeah, use this one instead. Okay, so we can use this version of MetaMask. My only issue is that I don't have any funds in it, so it's going to be a little bit different to get a transaction going. But here we go. Let's try to keep going and see how far we can get. So now that we're trying to install this snap, we can see that here this is the name of the snap that we had in the manifest. And we can see that it's requesting a completely different set of permissions, which is to fetch and display transaction insights. And when I click install, then this snap is going to be installed. And obviously this send message here is not going to work anymore because the current snap is not exposing an RPC API or anything. Recurrent Snap is simply providing transaction insights when I send funds to another user. Now, I would love to be able to send funds here, but let me see if I have another place where I have some test funds that I can use. Obviously, I don't. Right. Oh wait, let's see. I'm currently on my notes. I want to be on. I think some funds here. Last time I checked, I should have some. Nope, I don't know what's happening, but I don't have any funds here. And so the first step to be able to create a transaction would be to be able to have some funds here. Let me see if I can get some funds very quickly. Ugh. Okay. Let's see if I can get some funds. Okay. Next. Connect. Continue. Oh, I need to have a mainnet balance in order to get funds from this faucet. All right, that's really great. Everything is going just as planned. Okay, how can I get funds here? Maybe what I can do is I can go back to the workshop here. I can paste my Ethereum address, and maybe one kind soul who's following the workshop can send me some Gurley testnet or Sepolia testnet funds to this address. That would be really lovely. It would help me a lot. And I'm going to take a minute to drink some water, and then we're going to keep going. We still have about 10 minutes. And I'm going to take advantage of that to also look at the questions that you guys have posted here. All right. Question 1, can we cover cron jobs? We have another workshop that's going to be covering private keys, which to me is a lot more exciting. We do have some documentation on cron jobs. There's no planned workshop or anything for it, but yeah, there's no planned workshop for cron jobs, but we have some documentation, and we always have our resources like our Discord and so on, where you can ask us questions. Do you need to change it from production to development? This is a kind soul trying to assist me while I was going fighting with the gods of the workshop. Do we need to add a .env? I'm not sure exactly what this question is referring to, but feel free to be a little bit more specific in your questions. I would love to help. And Justin just pasted my Ethereum address if someone wants to send us a little bit of test funds, and then just confirm that you've done it. And this way we can try to keep looking at this workshop in a little bit more detail. That would be really cool if someone has even like a 0.01 ETH available. That would really help. And let's see. This is making me nervous. Thank you for your support. It's fine. This always happens. Look, the cool thing is that the whole workshop is available on GitHub. So even if we're not able to go through like everything today, I hope at least I was able to give you a little taste of things. Feel free to keep asking questions and so on, and we'll see what we can do with the Oh, ooh, look at that! I have funds. Someone sent me some ETH. All right, excellent. Okay, I'll back it up later. Let me be. All right, so now we can finally take a look at our transaction insights window. Okay, so here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to send some funds from my account. Thank you very much, kind soul, for sending me some ETH. I will send back whatever I'm not using. And for now, I'm going to send to my, I'm sending to my second account from my first account. I'm going to send 0.001 Sepolia ETH. And this is my gas fees, and I'm going to click next. And then we are going to see that there is this new tab here called %snap. And it's showing the content that we are returning from the UI here. It's showing this content, the panel with the heading and the text. And we did do a console log here. We console logged the transaction object so that we could take a look at what's in there. And if I open my developer tools right here, I could like maybe even just refresh the whole page just to make sure, clear this, go back here, cancel, reject the transaction, you know, like just try to do it one more time, sending 0.001 ETH. And if we see this code here, if we see this UI here, then we know that the code of the transaction insight has executed. And yet we don't see any console logs here. And the reason for that is because this console log and all this code here of the snap is not running in the dApp. That's the whole beauty of it, is that it's running inside of the snap itself, inside of a sandbox inside of the snap. And so where do we see all the errors and all the console logs that are happening inside of our snap? We are currently discussing the possibility to like forward these errors and these logs to the dApp here. It's still a little bit unsure. For now, they appear in the extensions developer tools. So to do that, to be able to see those logs, I'm going to have to go to Manage Extension here. I'm going to want to make sure that my developer mode is on in the top right corner. And then I'm going to inspect the background.html view. And this is going to allow me to see all the logs that are coming from MetaMask, but also from the snap. So the code of the transaction window runs every time I switch back to the tab. So if I click details and I click %snap again, I would expect to see the console log right here in the dev tools of the extension. And so I can inspect what this transaction object contains. You will get access to the from address. You will get access to the to address. You'll get access to how much gas, all those parameters of the transaction and the value. And if this was like a contract interaction, then you would also get all the data that comes with that of the contract interaction. This would allow you to be able to simulate the transaction and provide some very powerful insights to the user. We even have an example that's linked at the end of the workshop of running Truffle, our blockchain development tool, inside MetaMask snaps and simulating a whole transaction, and then showing the user what would happen if they were to execute that transaction. This is extremely powerful. You don't get access to the transaction ID because the transaction ID has not. There's no transaction ID yet, but you do get access to all the other fields of the transaction. And really, if we were to go through the rest of this. Was my screen not showing, or was it showing? It was showing. Okay. I don't know why. Okay, this is just for me to minimize. All right, cool. Okay, perfect. So if we were to go through the rest of this workshop, really, we've gone through the most important bits. Most of the rest of this workshop is concerned with modifying this code so that we can sort of look at this transaction object and make some computations on it and show a more complex UI to the user. So with 4 minutes left, we're not really going to do that. I'm just going to highlight one thing that we can, inside MetaMask snaps, we can use the Ethereum global, which is available to dApps. It works almost the same way. It has some missing features, but we can use it, and it has its own permission. So this is another thing that I want to highlight. But really, if we were to go through all the rest of this workshop, we would just be doing some math. We would be calculating the current gas prices and so on and so on. And then at the end, we would have a code that is displaying that's displaying the percentage of gas fees that the user would be paying as a percentage of the total transaction. So at the end of this workshop, you have links to other snaps that real companies and organizations are working with. You have a link to my Dogecoin snap tutorial, which we're going to be doing live on Thursday, and really hope that that one is going to go a little bit better. And with the few remaining minutes that we have left, I'm going to stop sharing my screen, and I'm going to see if we can answer any final questions before thanking you guys for being here and dancing around the podium and following the workshop with me. There's a lot of dancing going on. I like that. I'm going to start dancing as well. Here we go. Now I'm dancing. Oh, I just got away from the podium. Can't do that. All right, I'm looking at the chat window to see if there are any questions. And thank you. We'll start experimenting with snaps and trying cron jobs. Cron jobs are quite powerful. You know, you can one. We have one organization that's building a complete chat system inside MetaMask using your wallet's ID as the chat ID. Um, I will have to get back to you on office hours, although you should have links that allow you to open my Calendly. You should have a link to my Calendly that will allow you to book a 15, 20-minute session to discuss what you need. Shout out to Downlore for the Sepolia save. Thank you very much for that. I will send you back whatever you sent to me. Because I have a whole bunch of it. I have like 40 or 50 of it that I keep sending to people, but I don't know why my accounts weren't showing. So thanks a lot for everyone. And it looks like we're just about out of time. So I hope that this workshop got you excited to see that you can increase all the capabilities of MetaMask. Any project ideas to build. I mean, look, the sky is the limit. I've shown you what are the APIs that are available. You have your own use cases. We currently have a little bit less use cases around like communication and identity. So we would love to see snaps being built around those topics. And we would love for you guys to reach out to us. Reach out to me. I'm the developer advocate. Like they hired me for that. So I'm available. You saw my GitHub, my Telegram, my Twitter. Here they are again. Um, just as we're finishing, I think it's a good idea to show them to you. So you can reach out to me at ZiadMTL, Twitter, Telegram. This is my GitHub, and we want to know what you're building. We want to know if you have feedback about our documentation, about the workshop itself, anything like that. And we are just about out of time. So thank you very much, everyone. I wish you a very beautiful day wherever you are in the world. And I hope to see you again on Thursday for another even more exciting workshop. Bye now.
Thanks, Ziad, for the sharing of the workshop today as well. Before we close off, I'm just going to quickly bring you all through how you can actually secure time with the mentors for this hackathon in itself. So let me just kind of quickly share my screen, and you should be able to see the builder's guide that's popping up on your screen. So this builder guide will be something that you can actually access to either from the Z space that you see on the left navigation bar or from the Discord channel in itself. Over here on the Builder's Guide, all you need to do is to scroll down to the bottom part and click on this segment called Get Connected with Mentors and DevRels, of which over there you would be able to see a whole list of the mentors who are up for this hackathon essentially. We do have a few that are bounty specific. You can see Ziad over here that it's specifically for snaps. And we have other community partners and others from the consensus team who are bounty agnostic, which you can secure at a time as and when you would like to. All you need to do simply is with the mentor of your choice, click on their banner and on the Calendly link, and you will be taken right to Ziad's calendar with the availability that he has set aside for the hackathon in itself. So feel free to select the time at any point of any of the slot that you would like. Do take note that the timing on the site will reflect according to your own time zone. So just kind of ensure that you kind of um, not get surprised by the timing that you see over there. Nonetheless, we do have other mentors if they are in a specific time zone that are a little bit more favorable to yourself. In any case, mentors have actually allocated time throughout the entire hackathon to have available slots for any teams or individuals who are hacking solo to book time with the mentors essentially as well. Let me stop my screen here. And yes, so please refer to the Builder's Guide. It's your single source of truth for the entire hackathon. And also at the same time, if you have any question, please feel free to reach out to any of the consensus or the AngelHack team on the Discord server. We're more than happy to help you as well. Well, you can just press 0 on your keyboard and you can start dancing. Other than that, uh, thank you all for taking the time to attend the session live and to stay throughout the end. As mentioned earlier on at the start, for those who have stayed through the end, there might be surprises that will come on your way. So keep a lookout in your mailbox early next week. And feel free to leverage on this space if you would like to continue to just kind of hang out, to kind of meet different people, or you can take a look at the opening ceremony that have happened last Thursday. It can be accessed via the link that you can find on your side panel on your left of your screen as well. Till then, my name is Justin, and I will see you all tomorrow in the same space for two workshops that will be ran by two other DevRels from Consensus team. Goodbye, and have a good day, everyone.